Hello. I wanted to try something for my Twitter and just in general, which is a fake draft of Ikoria using draftsim.com. The set isn't out for 2 days, so I just figured we could go through a hypothetical draft together. I talked through my picks and my first impressions on some cards. I have an article coming in probably like 6 hours. As soon as I'm done recording this, I'm gonna finish writing it and post it on Twitter as well. So that'll be nice. But I wanted to talk a bit, and I think this is a fun thing to do. So I'm not gonna waste too much more time. Okay. So our rare is Extinction Event. Extinction Event is a weird card. So sweepers and limited, generally pretty good. Like if you're not extremely aggressive, you're usually happy to have them. But Extinction Event is weird. It's weird because like you can kind of build around it, but probably not. Your opponent, like, because you could just choose like what their best card is. I'm assuming this is good. And you have a lead into your deck build and to playing it, but it's going to be awkward sometimes. The good news is it's not pre-baked that like what it is. So if they end up all on one and you have all on one, well, you just chump block or something and set it up, and it's kind of weird to play around. And the power level is pretty high. And the other thing is, like, let's say they just have one thing you want to kill, and you don't have other odds. You just go, okay, I'll just name odd. I'll pop your 5-drop. Then that's fine. I mean, 4 mana, kill a guy unlimited isn't atrocious. So there's a nice combination of power and flexibility here, with a bit of awkwardness from your own end. But, generally I'm a fan, especially at the start of the format too. There's something that a lot of pros say, which is, play the rares as soon as the format begins so you can figure them out. And the thing is, even in Theorycraft, I don't think Extinction Event is like bad at all. I do think there are decks, I guess, where it could be bad. But even then, like if your opponent has like the odd or the even deck, like if they had like the nut and they drafted it, which I don't think is gonna be good most of the time. I think you should just play the card in your deck, like not as a companion. But even if they did, like this is insane against both. It just like Wrath of Gods them. Or not Wrath of Gods, it Plague Winds them. And then maybe some of your own things too. But anyway, so I would certainly take this, but let's go through the rest of the pack. So Zenith Flare from the draft sims I've done has not seemed too impressive. I think it's pretty easy to build like Shock or Lightning Helix out of this, but past that, you're going to have a lot of cyclers. And one problem with cyclers is that if you cycle too much, you end up flooding out, because the lands in your deck don't have cycling. There's no deserts, there's no basic cyclers. There's only the rares, which you're not going to get in great number at all. And they also cycle for 3. So with that in mind, I mean, you start whirling up cyclers to try to power up Zenith Flare. Okay, you're not doing that much. You're just spinning your tires. You cast it, shoot something, gain some life. And I mean, it doesn't have to be this bad because you can trade the cards off individually and grow it. It's just purely how many cyclers do you have and how much other cycling synergy do you have. But I don't think the floor is terrible. The ceiling is very high. But most of the time, you're not going to hit either. You're going to have some cyclers, and the card's going to be fine. But I don't think it's like slam it and build around it per se. And then Charge of the Forever Beast is a pretty decent removal spell. It's a bit weird. I mean, you'd have to like stat trek to figure this out entirely. Go get the hyper geometric out and figure out like what are your odds of having something that has like 3 or 4 power plus, because that's where you want this to be. It's not a fight, obviously. It just deals the damage equal to the revealed creature's power. But one problem, of course, is that it's a terrible top deck if you've already played your hand. So in general, you want to have some card draw and you want to have some big dudes. But I mean, most green decks are sort of in the market for that anyway. So I assume the card's going to be pretty good. Huntmaster Liger's fine. The mutate ability is a bit awkward. Like, it really wants you to mutate it multiple times because the first time is underwhelming and you're not even like gaining a body. You're just changing a body into this, and then it pumps. Yeah, it pumps. It doesn't even pump itself. It pumps other things. So, but one thing about Mutate that's nice is it's 2 cards. It's the Aura Mutate. Well, actually, it's 3 cards. It's the Aura Mutate with it on top. It's the Aura Mutate with it on bottom. So it's a 3/4 XX, where X is whatever it was, assuming you're mutating this onto like a 6/6 or something. And then it's its original body, which is a 4 mana 3/4. And then that body is good if you mutate onto it, because you can stack effects. So it's a good amount of flexibility. It's an okay amount of power. Certainly a good card. Like, it's better than most commons, I would say, but it's not amazing. And then speaking of most commons, the best commons in this pack are Gopher Blood, which is 2 mana Prey Upon, which isn't even that great of a rate, but Prey Upon cycles really well because you'll generally know when Prey Upon is good. And I mean, granted, it becomes bad if they have like a 1-mana bounce spell or something, but you know, you see the sizing on board and you sort of understand, oh, okay, I have my 5/5, I'm going to be able to fight this guy and I'm going to have a good time. But when not, you just cycle it for 1 mana. Same thing with like Memory Leak as well. Memory Leak is another card that is much better than it looks thanks to cycling 1. Because I mean, this is a bad rate. This is Dark Inquiry, which is not good at all, really, in terms of rate. I mean, I played it a bit because, what was that? Rivals Ixalan was a very slow format, but anyways, I mean, this is a 5.5 minute pack. So I'm going to move a bit faster than this. I just wanted to give some thoughts. I mean, it's a whole new set. So we're going to click Extinction Event. Now here, Boon of the Wishgiver is very good. One thing to note about color pairs, every 2 color pair is viable. You should have a preference for enemy colors because that better positions you for 2 wedges. This set, I would say, and I'm going to write about this in an article, which I'm posting in a few hours. It's 2 color base. There's 3 colors, but it's not cons because there's not as much fixing, and there certainly aren't nearly as many multicolor cards as well. All of the 3 color stuff is I think it's at rare, right? Or are there uncommon 3 color cards? Because there's the rare one, there's the Mythos. I don't know if there is. I don't even think there's a single card that is 3 color that isn't a rare. I should look that up before I do this video. I'm gonna be embarrassed. But anyways, so this card, classic cycler, really strong late game card. Cycles freely if you don't need it. Also, there's Swallow Hole, which is, it's fine. It's an Assassinate variant. It's very cheap. It does suffer from the fact that there's a Vigilance tribal deck in this set, and therefore there's a decent amount of cards with Vigilance. So, against certain decks, you might have to take it out, but generally it should be pretty usable. Archipelagor. Let's see. 7 mana, 7/7 with Mutate 6, and then it taps things. I'm pretty interested, although you do have to be like a bit rampy or late gamey. Certainly not over Boon though. And then for commons, this hits players. Just worth noting because I didn't read it that way. It took me like a little bit to catch up to the actual text. And then I'm assuming Fertilid is going to be good, but I've never played with it. It could be too slow. Nothing wrong with E-Wilds, and everything falls off a cliff. So we're just going to take Boon. Here, there's Boneyard Lurker, which is excellent. I mean, 4/4 for 4 with serious upside if you can mutate it. Hemophage is like a worse version of this per se, although it's single color. The thing is, we know that blue-black leads into Sultai, and we know that 3 colors is viable. So I have no problem like being 3 colors and figuring out if I'm a splash deck, if I'm actually just a mix of 3 color everything, and I just have a bunch of dual lands. You know, you have a lot of options in this set, so you don't need to be as restrictive as normal. So you should certainly take the best card if it's in your potential wedge, which is what we're going to do. And then here, Boot Nipper's all right. The joke is that you mutate the keywords that you want, which I like. You know, I mean, that's good. The fact that your filler has late game viability is nice. But there's also Archipelagor, which I like as well. And I mean, I would rather just take the powerful cards first and then figure out the filler later, which might come back to bite you. I mean, this could be a set where you need to take good filler first because of Mutate. I mean, Mutate's certainly a mechanic that rewards you for having a density of cards like this. And the fact that it is Death Touch means it can trade with their big guy as well, potentially. For the rest of the cards, I mean, the rocks are fine. If the rock has 2 of your colors, you're probably interested. If it has 1, you could still play it, like if your curve is very high, but eh. And then Essence Scatter is also quite good. Like, I don't know how good Essence Scatter is yet. I know it seems very good in theory. There isn't too much that specifically punishes it. I mean, I guess there's like the Cunning Nightbonder, which would be the stone worst, because they just play that idiot and you can never counter anything. But wait, no, it's only creatures with flash, I think. No, it's not ever. No, it's actually bad. All right, well then that's fine. We're just gonna take the speculative 7-drop that's also a 6-drop for Mutate. I think Void Beckoner's all right. This is a lot of clunk, and this might be the wrong way to start a draft, but I like the cycling ability on Void Beckoner much more than I do like the other cards like this. You know, because a lot of the other ones, like the keyword is not worth a card. Whereas with this, if you have something cheap, you can trade it up and then draw a card off the Void Beckoner. And then the Void Beckoner itself is like a fat big creature, which is not too bad. Other than that, we have some nice utility humans. Both these cards seem quite playable. Looters are good, and a deck with a lot of synergies like this where the... Well, I don't know. Actually, I can't tell you if the games are going to go long or not. I know that they look like they're going to go big, but it still might be too tempo-oriented. And then there's absolutely nothing wrong with this card either. It's really good against pacifism. Like, just phenomenal against pacifism, which is going to be a great common in general. And then Lurking Deadeye is, like, generally fine as well. You can trade it, like, on defense, or you can use it for blowouts. Anyways, let's just take the uncommon. Ooh, there's Cunning Nightbonder. Yes, he spells with Flash, so not actually that good. Honestly, it probably isn't even better than this. This card's interesting because, in theory, this is a really good base to mutate off, since when it dies, you know, you get it back, and then you can just restart the mutate chain. But it's extremely slow. It also has synergy with, like, the grafting mole and stuff like that, and green-black self-mill. But it's very minor. I mean, getting back Grizzly Bears is not really that impressive. So I would potentially take one of these two cards. I guess blue-black is the Flash deck, assuming I'm like blue-black, splash-green or something. Although I don't have a single card with Flash. So it's between these two. I'm just going to take the Nightbonder, but that could be wrong. I mean, currently with my deck, I would say Nightbonder is the worse card than the 2-1. But because I'm like the colors of its archetype, and you don't need that much of a... You know, you don't need to be 100% Flash with this card, like, at all. Because the base is fine. You know, Flash Grizzly Bears Unlimited, it's okay. You can play it. It is a human as well, which is negative with these mutates. So maybe I should have considered that. And then here, I guess we'll just take the black card. I mean, these green cards are... Well, this card's really mediocre too. But I do have a lot of fatties, which means I'm actually down for a bit of lifelink action. Although, you know, Fertilid would be fine as well, assuming I end up in an actual rampy deck. Well, I'm just going to take the Fertilid then. And then here, there's Dark Bargain, Graphid, Memory Leak, Dismal Backwater. Well, generally, my instinct is just to take the land here, because everything here is... There's a lot of cards here that are quite playable. I would say all this stuff is playable. But at the same time, I mean, you know, we could just improve our deck's quality with the land. I would possibly take this over everything. And then now we have Startling Development. Pretty good with Fertilid. 0/0 becomes a 6/6. That's a nice combat trick. And because it cycles, there's no real cost compared to other combat tricks. I can't imagine Anticipate being very good. I imagine Anticipate's just good in like the cast a non-creature matters deck, like the Sprite Dragon deck. And I mean, Anticipate is incapable of being atrocious, because you just cycle it, you know, and you go get something that you want, supposedly. But it's slow, and cycling kind of fills that void anyways. So I'm just going to take Startling Development. I can also take Plummet as a sideboard card. Take another Fertilid. I don't know if Fertilid is good. I really don't. This card's excellent with Adapt. Or not with Adapt, with Mutate. That's like what it's supposed to do. But, you know, excellent's too strong a word for a 5-mana 3/3. This is like an okay trick as well. Take the Turtle. I actually like O5s. It's kind of a good blocker. Alright. So we've opened Yidero, which we're not going to play, because we're pretty much married to... We're base blue-black. Although we could just be Sultai at the moment. But, you know, we get to play everything that isn't red or white, essentially, which isn't too bad. So with that in mind, I mean, Skull Prophet's a very strong uncommon. Mana Dork with Self-Mill Upside. Now, Self-Mill Upside in Limited is weird, because currently we would never mill ourselves, I think. We would just never do it. Like, I don't know what this... What does this do? Nothing. It makes this have more targets. And then also, because we have a decent amount of card draw, it makes this deck faster. Okay, yeah, see, I'm not interested. But I'm interested in a 3/1 Mana Dork, like, for sure. And then otherwise, there's this Raid 2/3 Human, which is obviously a very aggressive card. Much more aggressive than we will likely be. Ram Through is quite good as well. So it's definitely between Ram Through and Skull Prophet. Ram Through is actually insane. I mean, they took... what was that card called? They took Rapid Bite. They made it instant. And then they made it trample, too? It deals damage equal to its power. Okay, no, I don't think it... Equal to its... Yeah, I guess it would work with Death Touch. Wow. That would be pretty gross. Just smack them for 7 with Void Beckoner. I mean, granted, Void Beckoner costs 8, but I guess I could cycle it and then ram through. I'm just going to take the ram through, but I could be wrong. I'm just underrating the profit, possibly. There's a crystal in our colors. This card works well with the flash deck and with cheap creatures, although I don't really have anything I want to sacrifice right now, right? I guess I can use Fertilid once and then sacrifice it. And, you know, that's actually pretty reasonable. But the fatties don't sack well at all. And then, like I said, these crystals are very good too because they cycle, which takes out a lot of the worst that you can expect from your mana rocks. Since you play them on turn 3, they're usually pretty good. Now, granted, they don't cycle after they're in play, though, so even then, I don't know how much cycling helps the mana rocks. I do think you still have to kind of want them, but, I mean, I do. My curb is very high. So, I'm just going to take this mana rock over the decent removal spell that I'd probably play a copy of, the Mammoth Spider, the third Fertilid, and the Poacher, but this could be wrong. The thing is, we don't even get to test whether or not this is wrong or not. That's one of the issues with drafting like this, but... anyways, second Boon the Wishgiver or Memory Leak. And I'm just going to take the Boon the Wishgiver. I'm just assuming this card is a very high power level because of how, like, you know, 6 mana draw 4 is strong, and then, like, just cycling it for 1 prevents, like, a lot of the drawback. Same thing with this, but the power level of a 3 mana discard spell doesn't compare to a 6 mana draw 4. Mentor Flyer. Do we have flyers? It can make something into a flyer on its own, but the problem is it's a 1/3. So 1/3 for 3 is quite bad. If it was a 1/4, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll play a 1/4 that makes something a flyer for 3 mana. But since this won't really block, I'm not super impressed. The Leech is okay. You can kill things with it. You can also just remove all counters, huh? That is bizarre. But I don't hate having a Leech. There's a filler creature like this. There's this trap, which is okay. I mean, whatever I pick, it's not going to be super good. I could also just take Fertilid, assuming we are like a Fertilid deck, which, you know, it kind of looks like we are right now. It seems like black is our least played color, actually. We're more blue-green than anything else. So I'm just going to take the Fertilid. I don't know if Fertilid's good. There's a Looter, Boot Nipper, Corpse Churn, and Adventurous Impulse. We're mostly creatures, so I think Adventurous Impulse will improve the quality of our deck, like, to a decent extent. Or actually, are we mostly creatures? Nah, not really. We just have some big ones. Well, alright. Let's just take the Looter then. Giraffarid. Yes, certainly take Giraffarid here. This card isn't fogged, so it's actually good, but it's still going to be hard to fit. You know, like, you'll play 1 as like a sort of blowout card if you can fit it. But we could use more solid blockers like this as well. And then here... we can technically cast this card as long as we're not morphing it. And we do have some good cards like Boon the Wishgiver to use with it. But since we don't have a good base early game for Mutate, I'm not particularly interested. I think I'm going to take... We're probably good on value with the 2 Boons and all the Fertilids and so on. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with Dark Bargain. It's not terrible. And there's also Springjaw and Frostveil Ambush. Ambush is interesting because... you're going to cycle it 90% of the time since it's so overcosted. But because, again, it cycles for 1, I mean, I don't see what the harm of having a Frostveil Ambush in your deck is. See, this is the challenge with this set. I mean, there's almost no cards that are atrocious because all the bad cards cycle. Well, let's clean this out for a second. What cards are, like, unplayable? Obviously, the white cards are. Order by CMC. Mostly on 3s. Could use some 4s as well. Also, I don't think this card's particularly good. I guess I could be wrong. The ability just seems expensive, and the body itself is useless. I know the joke is that you mutate onto it, which is nice, but we have 2 mutates right now. And we have Fertilid as well, which is a great mutate target. I'm going to take the Dark Bargain, but that's probably it for card draw. And then here I'm going to take this Morph creature, or not Morph, sorry, Mutate, because it's an okay card with an upside. Here we'll take... Suffocating Fumes is weird. I don't expect it to be very good. I guess it's fine against humans, potentially. You're going to cycle this 90% of the time, so I'd probably sideboard it anyways, even though it has cycling. But humans, it hits human tokens and maybe certain X1s like the Saber Tiger or whatever, which, if you can get it for free, it's fine. I already like our 3s, so I'm not very interested in this 1/5. And then this is good against pacifism, but there's not too many other enchantments that you care about, so this would usually cycle or stay in the sideboard. Well, it's between one of these narrow sideboard cards. 4th Fertilid, okay. Definitely take Memory Leak. The Leech, Corpse Churn. Last pick, that card. You're not going to see that in person. Anyways, so we could totally splash a Luna Apex of Wishes. Actually, we're certainly going to play this card because we can play 1 mountain if we want, since we have 4 Fertilids, which we don't have to play all of them. But the thing is that even if we don't, we can just morph this for blue, green. This card's insane. This is just a bonkers first pick for, not first pick, pack 3, pick 1 for us. So with that in mind, we're going to take a Luna for sure. Otherwise, we'd be taking this Lurker. And then after that, the pack falls off pretty hard. I'd probably take the Beast. This card's interesting, actually. I didn't even think of it. You're supposed to mutate it. You can mutate other things and it sees that. But mutating it is quite good as well, because it's still going to trigger. And it's obviously not a human. For some reason in my head, it was like, oh, it's a symbiote. It wants to witness mutates. But it's actually more than happy to mutate itself. So just keep that in mind when you evaluate this card. Not that it's like amazing, but it's a pretty good Grizzly Bear. And green does do a good amount of mutating. Anyways, obviously just take the dumb mythic. Oh, Chevelle, Bane of Monsters. Yeah, Chevelle's pretty messed up. Now, granted, we don't really have much removal spells, but just putting a counter on something and saying, like, if you trade this, you're going to get 2 for 1 is a bad time for your opponent. Now, the counter sits there, though, which kind of limits it, but, ideally we would have more removal, and we really don't have, we have a single copy of Ram Through, we have Extinction Event, which exiles, so it won't count for Chevelle, and we have the Leech. So we'd love to get another removal spell in this pack, but, if it wasn't for Chevelle, we'd take Skull Prophet, and I would certainly take Chevelle here. It is in our colors. Mythos of Brokos, absolutely. It's an insane divination variant. Probably kicking Dark Bargain out of the deck, but definitely going to take it here. Poacher's pretty good. Wouldn't mind one of those. There's a Zagoth Crystal. I'm going to take the Boot Nipper here. I think I'm really good on ramp, actually, with the million Fertilids in the Crystal. So it's certainly possible I overdrafted Fertilid, or that the bots are undervaluing it. I'm not sure. The body's definitely worse than average, but, it's a lot of flexibility, and it's a great mutate target, because anything with counters, so you don't even have to, use the counters on your mutate. You just go oh, my mutate is too bigger from this elemental base. Migration Path is a pretty good ramp spell. With the way this deck is currently set up, I don't see anything wrong with ramping. I do have a decent amount of uses for mana, especially the Boons of the Wishgiver. Any draw I have where I'm ramping into it, I'm not going to cycle it. I'm just going to cast it and be super ahead on cards. And then Neutralize. I don't really have a good Neutralize deck, but Neutralize is better than most cancels by a solid amount because it cycles. So certainly would take that if not for these. And then there's also Glimmerbell, which is good with Mutate, and then Frostlinks, which is just decent in general, although it's a bit more aggressive than I am. Mythos of Nethroi. Oh yeah, this is just murder. By the way, don't get fooled by this card. This card's just insane. If you're black, you just pick it and play it. It's just murder. You don't need to do anything with Abzan mana. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to put a Plains on my deck. I don't care. Anyways, we're going to take this Boot Nipper here for sure. This is my problem with Thwart the Enemy. I don't know how to fit it. I need creatures that, block for me. Definitely take the Backwater. Not even close. Take the Pangolin. Take, I guess, the Goriak. I don't know what Sleeper Dart's for, honestly. Sure. And then we can build this deck really quick, and this will be the end of the video. Hopefully this was helpful. But why is it doing it like that? So we're just going to drag out all of the cards here. Tranquil Cove. Okay, sort by CMC. We certainly want to make cuts here. We're not going to play everything, obviously. What are our worst cards? Or actually, what I should say is what are our best cards? Let's sort by rarity. So we're going to play all of our rares, obviously. Mythos, Extinction Event. Yeah, all these rares are insane. Night Bonder basically has no text. Barrier Breach, so we're just going to do Process of Elimination and we'll rebuild. We can cut the off-color crystal, although the off-color crystal is a way to hardcast a Luna with 0 mountains in our deck, which is nice. And I mean, granted, hardcast a Luna is weird. I wouldn't expect to do it, but I like having the option if it's free. Like, if I don't have to spend much to get it, I will definitely appreciate being able to hardcast this, because sometimes you just don't have other creatures. You need a 6/6 flying trample to start the, or not start the chain with, but just to start with. Boon is very good. Archipelagor, this. Okay, yeah, these are just generally good cards. Turtle's certainly cuttable. Looter, Development's cuttable. Corpse Churn is certainly cuttable. I don't think I need every single Fertilid, but I guess I could be wrong. Not going to play Dark Bargain because I have a ton of value already. Cavern Whisper is certainly cuttable, so is Shimmer and Leech. Okay. This is like my base right now. Again, cycling means this is like more of a 1, if you want to think of it that way, which is probably where I'd put it on curve, because just cycling it sort of accomplishes something. Now, it doesn't really truly curve you out, but it's like at least okay. We don't have like any other flash cards, so we're not going to worry about this Grizzly Bears much. Just a human Grizzly Bears, which I'm not really a fan of. Can sideboard it if we're desperate. Is Corpse Churn good for anything? You can return a creature card for, so it's like a Raise Dead with South Mill, and it's 2 mana instant. Not a very good rate. Certainly not a good rate, but we do have some good creatures to bring back. Although we also have other card advantage, like this Mythos. So I'm not really that interested. I think I'm more interested in just like a Looter. And then potentially this Cavern Whisper. And this is 19 cards in deck. Why does it say 21? Oh, this is my pool. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not used to this program, or this website rather. But the thing is, this is so lame compared to this. You can actually see the cards. So, yeah, my deck is fake. My pool is real. But anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is 19 in deck. It doesn't say how many are in my pool, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 20. So this is 25. So I need to cut cards, actually. Well, that's fine then. So we just cut, yeah, this is 25, and then not counting the 2 Dismal Backwaters. So I'd probably play 17 lands. Like I said, this deck uses mana very well with the 2 boons. So I'm not particularly concerned about flooding out. I guess that could change after playing, but I'd cut like a Fertilid, because you only need so much of this effect. I just want to have like 1 every game, potentially. And then maybe the Boot Nipper or the Looter. The Looter's not too bad, but the body is kind of useless. And you have to pay for it, so we don't really have any like cares about human synergies either. We do have some mutate. I'd probably cut like the human. And then this puts us at 4, 8, 10, 14, 17. That's actually 22. I can't count. 12, 16, 18, yeah, 22. We'd have to add 1 more card, which I guess we might just add back in the Looter that we cut. But I'm not 100% sure on it. I do know, I think this pool's pretty good. Like, I would like a bit more removal. But I have a nice ground game, and I have like a very high ceiling in terms of power level. So I'm a fan. And then we'll build the mana base really quick as well. Although I don't even know if we're going to like drag it out, because how does this work? Can I add this to the... I guess I would add it here and then click over here. No, it doesn't even do that. Ugh. It's rough. But anyways, we would basically want to hit like 8 forests total for Fertilid. And then the rest we would just kind of split down the middle between blue and black, because we have these Dismal Backwaters. I don't think our mana is particularly terrible. Yeah, we have green-black base. We actually ended up being like soft blue, but because our double blue cards are cyclers, it's not a big deal. Maybe that means we're not supposed to play this, but... Anyways, that should be enough to start it off. I would figure out the mana base in person, essentially, but like minimum 8 green, And then currently we're leaning black. We could also change this looter out for a black card and just focus our blue being more like just the top end. Currently, I don't know if I would play the mountain because we have a good number of non-creatures to mutate this onto. But if you wanted to with the 3 Fertilids, I would not fault you at all if you could fit it. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully that was helpful. It's a bit jambled, but it does give you some thoughts on the format through an example draft. And see you around. Bye.